Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing, and we're here for a LinkedIn Live-a-thon. And I want to welcome anyone is watching this. We would love it if you could leave a comment below. Let us know where you're watching from. We're going to be broadcasting all day here today. And I'm getting a little bit of a lag on my machine, and I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. I might have to switch to a different laptop just to smooth things out here. But if you could, leave a comment below. And while you're doing that, what I'd like to do is get this party started, if you will. We're here to teach you all kinds of tips, trips, and I can't even talk. I haven't had my coffee yet. Tips, tricks, and techniques for using LinkedIn for your job search and for a variety of different things. And our very first guest here today is Pat Rook. Hey, Pat, how are you doing today?
I am awesome. Happy Saturday. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is Saturday. It's been like kind of like a flurry of a week here. And it's great to have, this day to be offered to everybody. And it's beautiful sunshine here in Michigan. How's the weather where you're at there, Pat?
I am at Myrtle Beach, and I am looking at the ocean, and it is in the low 40s, mid 40s, and sunny. Beautiful. Awesome. I just walked my dog on the beach.
That's awesome. So glad to hear. Well, it's sunny everywhere when we're sharing great information. And we're going to kick this off right away here, guys. And I want to make sure that we have time for some of Pat's great information she'll be sharing. And then I also want to make sure we have some time for Q&A before we move into the next segment. So our very first session here is from 10 to 10:30. And we're going to be talking about how to move from what I've always done to maybe like what I want to do. And we know when you're in career transition, there's a lot of people, Pat, who are thinking about kind of making that pivot. And before we jump into that part of the discussion, Pat, why don't you take a minute or two, tell people a little bit about who you are, what's your business all about, and then let's start to offer them some tips.
Sure. So in a few weeks, my business will be 33 years old. I started when I was in diapers. So my background was as basically a virtual VP of marketing. I was raised in an ad agency and PR agency in college, had cool jobs, was doing a lot of great work, had a car accident, and was not able to work in an office at age 24, believe it or not. So I started virtual work in my early 20s and worked with entrepreneurial and corporate baby boomers who wanted someone to help grow their empires. Did that for 20 years, got my master's at 40 best practices for virtual teams in spring 2001 before 9/11. Because wow. I had already been doing it a long time. And so my daughter, who's a doctor at Johns Hopkins, said to me recently, she's like, Mom, you were really built for this pandemic, because I help people through the transition of the towers going down and dislocated workers and the new work normal. And then the recession, 08, 09, and now with this. So I lost my last job at age 50. I was 10 years in the pharmaceutical industry, agency, sales for WebMD, strategic marketing. And when it all went away, like many, many people right now, complete and utter meltdown. I was 50, menopausal. Maybe you have friends that have been in that ugly space, but it was not a good time. And my best friend dug in the snow amid the meltdown and gave me this box of rocks, 50 rocks, painted gold, and it says 50 rocks, and so do you. And
aww, that's awesome.
We'll see it on the screen. It's 50 things that are special about me. And one says confident, generous, supportive. Oh, this one says drinks wine, Brenda. Bitchy, plays golf, all the things. And so like what we help people do now, how to sit and reevaluate and say, what am I good at? What am I really meant to serve? This is my time to do a makeover. I didn't choose this time, but it's time. And I knew I was a good speaker and trainer. Those were obvious to me. But people said I was the best career coach they ever met. And I was completely blown away because I had an unorthodox background. It didn't make any sense to me at all, but you need other people's perspective. And so back in 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, I reinvented, and now they call me the Rockstar Career Transformation Coach. And I love LinkedIn. It's my favorite place to help people build a brand and tell their story. And so that is my gift, is helping people find the light and shine the light on theirs.
That's awesome. So I am super excited. I'm actually going to kind of turn the floor over to you at this point, Pat. And again, for those that are just joining us, we're streaming live on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. If you want to leave a comment or question for Pat, drop it in the comments below, and we'll get to your questions about the last 5 to 10 minutes of the segment here today. But what I'd like to do, Pat, is kind of turn this over to you. I know there's people that are watching, and they either may be in career transition right now, like maybe they've been displaced because of the coronavirus and what's happening with their industry and their company, or maybe they're just having kind of this change of heart, like the job that they've always done isn't fueling them. It's not giving them passion, and they're starting to feel, everything that's happening in the world makes you think about your own mortality. And am I really happy with doing this? And is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? So I want to turn the floor over to you, Pat. And, what advice do you have for these folks?
Well, first to say that you're not alone and it's not your imagination. So sometimes we pivot by choice and sometimes it's by chance. And I've had the beauty and misery of having done both over the course of the last how many years. And so I always think about this, Brenda, when you hear that, some people say the voice in their head or that feeling in the pit of your stomach, those moments when you know that something needs to change, that you're just not in your zone, you're just not happy, it's not working, this is just not right. And the voice gets louder and louder. And I always liken it to, remember I Dream of Jeannie, when Jeannie would pop out of the bottle? You can't shut her up and you can't shove her back inside. So paying attention to knowing that it's time to do something, whether you are thinking, I deserve more recognition and reward. It's time to move up in my organization. I want to raise a promotion, that coveted board seat, the head of that committee that everyone's watching, but that stepping up where you are, and I work with teams and individuals to help them do that. Sometimes you want to move over. You're really good at what you do. You're doing the right kind of job, but maybe your company has changed. Maybe your company's folding or leaving. Maybe you've been displaced, but it's time to take that talent and do it somewhere else. Or maybe it's time to do something different altogether. I call that right-sizing your career. Sometimes people want a bigger, more visible job. And sometimes I just helped a woman this week, a corporate executive, super smart, super successful, with a special needs teenager. She wanted a right size so she could be available for her teenager. And so a more steady job that was not all about this super powered, supercharged, the more hours you work, the more gold stickers you get moment. And so I share with people the process that I went through when I had to do this myself, because I became the career coach I couldn't find and desperately needed, in all honesty. So what do I think is the number one thing? First part of a career pivot is clarity, understanding your strengths, your zone of genius, those things you do like breathing. I want you to pay attention. Think about, why do people thank you? Why do they think you're awesome? What does it say in your thank you notes, in your employee review, in your LinkedIn recommendations? Pay attention to the words. Clarity is definitely number one. It's about those innate talents, those things we do like breathing that we might not even pay attention to because we're so good at them. It's so easy. Don't ignore what's easy, because imagine how nice and easy life will be if you actually worked on things you were great at and loved doing and didn't have to always struggle. It's not hard, right? So clarity of that and career soul searching, understanding what really lights you up. What do you want your legacy to be? And now if you have, like me, the sandwich generation, we've got older aging parents, some have passed. My mom's 89 years old. She's on Facebook every day. She is, very, very active, but still needs a lot of help. So think about caring for multiple generations of your family. Our adult children, many of them have had to move back in. So we've got sometimes 3 and 4 and even 5 generations together. And we are that healthcare quarterback, that career quarterback, we're the grocery quarterback, we're doing it all. So clarity on what you want. And I think about it in 5-year chunks, because what you needed 5 years ago was probably very, very different than today, given all the circumstance. And I promise it's probably also quite different than what you may need 5 more years from now. So I want you to think about what you need now in this next chapter that's going to light you up. And then a year from now, what do you want to be celebrating when it comes to family, to fun, fitness, finances, and your fabulous career? Because a good job is not just about money, right? True wealth is not about money. It's about fulfillment. It's about satisfaction. It's about knowing you're doing the right things to make an impact. So one is clarity. The second part takes you now to confidence. We've just kind of helped you set what I call your career GPS, right? You get in the car, you have to know where you're going. Otherwise, you sit in the driveway or you drive in circles. So confidence in your competence. What are the skills that you own? What are you really, really good at? What are the things you do like breathing from a skills perspective? Hard skills, maybe that's the technology, the things you learn on the job. What about the soft skills, the leadership skills, the transferable skills? I mean, if you think about it, no one had a job that said, oh, I'm a great leader in a pandemic, right? So confidence in your competence. Sometimes, like my friend Tracy, who came to us, she was an outstanding project manager and her contract was up and the pandemic was just starting and her kids were spread apart and she was really upset, but she wanted a job that had location flexibility so that she could relocate to the South when she was ready, perhaps even this year. So instead of sending hundreds of resumes, we updated her LinkedIn profile. She realized she loved clinical trials work and pharma work, so she went and we found her a free course from Harvard. Took a clinical trials course. She ended up paying for the certificate. So she's got a Harvard certificate in something very niche that she really, really wanted to be involved with, and ended up landing out of 12 resumes, only 12. She had meetings and introductions and interviews with 6. And out of the 6, she was offered a job. She's been at Becton Dickinson, which is BD, doing a global launch, loving life. And she still, even the day she took that job, had 5 companies looking at her. Confidence in her competence. She was able to articulate her value. She was able to plan ahead. She was able to supplement. And that doesn't mean going and getting another master's degree or another doctorate degree, because some people like to get ready. But it's a matter of telling that story so that if someone goes to your LinkedIn profile, and I know you're going to have a lot of folks talking specifically about the logistics, the nuts and bolts of LinkedIn, I'm talking about the storytelling. Think about whoever your decision maker, who's your ideal decision maker, who do you want to attract? Who do you know that you can serve, and how will you impact them? That clarity, that story then becomes the communication part. That's number 3, articulating your value so that that decision maker feels like, and you feel like, it's your Cinderella moment. This is me in my best light, doing my best work, giving it my all, making an impact, so that your LinkedIn profile, which is your personal brand, you're represented. If you look, I have my box of rocks as my screensaver. It's on my background on my LinkedIn profile. They call me the Rock Lady. Articulate your value so that the people on the other side are aware of your unique skill set, of your unique personality, of your alignment with their purpose and mission and passion, right? Tell that story. So even in the profile, talk about your value. You know how XYZ decision maker struggles with blank? Well, I solved that by blank, 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 and then start filling in the blanks. Literally speak to that person, articulate your value so that they know you are the right person that they can't wait to talk to solve their specific need. And then weave in the story of your strength and make sure you put your keywords and do all those right LinkedIn things that your whole day will be talking about from the nuts and bolts perspective to be searchable. Use the skills to be able to then, right? So we've got 1 was clarity, 2 was confidence in your competence, 3 is articulate your value, and number 4 is to rock your connections, right? So now we've got the what I want, what I deserve, how I'm going to get there, the story I want to tell, and now it's about outreach. I want you to use LinkedIn. I use it every single day to reach out to people, not just the people that are in your current circle, the people that you have known forever. It's one thing to talk to someone and say, what did you have for dinner last night? What about people you haven't seen in 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years? Talk to them, reach back out. And I just, one of the people, I do a mastermind, which is my high level VIP. It's your personal advisory council. You get one-on-one coaching, all the done for you, LinkedIn and profile and resume and all that. But you have a board of directors. And my former HR person from one of my former jobs is now in my circle as one of our clients. And she sent me a note and it said, introvert alert. I know you want me to reach out, but I feel silly, blah, blah. What do? I'm stuck. Not alone. 30 to 50% of people at least claim to be introverts. I am actually an introverted extrovert. I know that might sound strange, but I enjoy that quiet time as much as I do the connection. And so I've got to put myself into that mental mode. So what I said to her is, simplest way to do it is say, hey, Sally, hey, Brenda, nice to see you. I know it's been forever, but your smiling face popped up in my newsfeed, or congratulations, I just noticed you had a raise. I wanted to thank you. I remember back when we worked together and you helped me with blank, or you taught me blank, or you impacted me by blank. Tell them something wonderful about themselves. Give them one smile on their face. Tell them a moment where they lit you up. Tell them a moment where they helped you. I reached out to my old boss from 2003 and thanked him because he used to always say, come on, kid, do once, use many. Don't reinvent the wheel. And I think about that. And what he's saying is that when you have a process and a system and a structure, it's so much easier to move down the lane. It's so much easier to then take the framework and then listen closely to the needs of your current client or your current hiring manager that you want to work with, and really apply so that you are connecting the dots from where you've been to where you need to be. They need to clearly see the light you have in the things you've done, and how those transferable skills can assimilate, how that impacts them. That so what, who cares, right? And hockey great Wayne Gretzky says, it's not about skating to the puck, it's about skating to where the puck will be. I want you to find joy showing up, especially if you happen to be more my age than perhaps my kids' age, right? I have 2 kids just out of college. My daughter is a doctor at Johns Hopkins. My son is the youngest news director ever at NBC television here in Myrtle Beach. And so they're both in their lane doing exactly what they went to school for, exactly what they love, with smiles on their faces. My son gets up at 2 a.m. in the morning to go do the early morning news, but he loves it because I asked him why, and he said, because Mom, people depend on the news, they depend on me, and I'm making an impact. I thought he was going to say about the camera work. It was awesome, right? So it's about clarity of what you want, the confidence in your competence, the articulating your value, communicating that story, and then making the connections. And I see that you put on my title, I want to make sure I don't forget to say that I'm happy to share probably the biggest aha moment, the tool that I created. It was literally me writing down the questions I had in my head. The career soul searching assessment. If you have any doubt at all, is it time for a change? Where am I in my lane? Why do I get frustrated repeatedly? Or maybe what should I be doing next or focusing on now? Please go to rockonsuccess.com/soul, SOUL. I see Brenda's got it right there. It's rockonsuccess.com/soul, SOUL, and take the free career soul searching assessment. And you can ping me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn Messenger all day, every day. Brenda, I think you are too, right? That's our It's easy to catch us there.
That's right? The go-to. Can you hear me okay, guys? I had to swap over computers. I was getting a lag on the other laptop. I think I've corrected it. So hopefully.
Yes, it does. You're good.
All right. I went to my old backup laptop. I was like doing things in the background, multitasking, but you were doing great, Pat. And hopefully I was catching your key takeaways and your key points accurately there. Is that okay?
You did. You did great. I wish I had you with me every day.
And I want to pull up the webpage that you just talked about, because I want to just see if you can tell us. So when people go to this page, it's they can fill out the form for the free assessment, but then you mentioned they can get the free assessment. So that's where they click on the get free access, and they can learn more about what this is all about.
So it's going to take you through mindset, those clarity points we talked about, the things that you do well, the places you find frustration. It's going to take you through a section with questions about skill set. And those are literally some of the tactics, the tools, the transferable skills. Are you working in things you feel good at, or are you constantly frustrated that you're doing the wrong things? Kumon math, when my kids were in school, when they were little, and we went to the tutor.
Yeah.
Some people go to a tutor because they need help. They want to go from a D to a C or a C to a B or whatever. But I looked around and I noticed, I said, there's all these kids that are in the honors class and they're here in the tutor. And the tutor owner said to me, that's because they believe in really acing the things you're good at, really shine and lead from the front with those things. And if you think about it, isn't that just brilliant? It's so simple. Stop struggling, because I love Strength Finders. And the final message that I have to always share is that we are not supposed to be good at everything.
Right.
Our collective team should be. We're not supposed to be good at everything. Our team should be. And so when you do career soul searching and you find your lane, your zone of genius, and where you want to make an impact, you'll bounce out of bed, the days will fly by, joy in what you do, smile on other people's faces. You're less stressed because it is so much easier and faster to pay someone who loves the tech and loves fixing broken links on websites or whatever your bane of your existence is.
Yeah.
Let them do what they're good at, and then you can do what you're good at. And I know that might sound really simple, but I spent a lot of wasted time trying to be good at so many things, when in reality, it's so much more fun with stereo surround sound of other awesome people. Exactly why you're doing this LinkedIn, because you're going to have so many experts helping your audience with different facets of how to be better. So you guys are in for such a treat today, and I'm really, really honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Well, I am so delighted to have you kicking us off here today, Pat, because there's so many messages that were coming out in the words that you said, finding something that you're good at, finding something you're passionate about. And, there's a process you need to go through to get there, because I think a lot of us you go down the path you're supposed to do. You go to school, and then maybe you choose the college path because people told you you're supposed to do that. And then you end up in a job that you don't really love. And it reminds me, Pat, of a story. When I first graduated college, I was dating a guy who was he was going to be a pediatrician. And I think he was his third year of medical school, and he hated it. Didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, well, why don't you change paths? Do something else instead. And he's like, no, I'm in so much debt right now. I can't not do this anymore. And he's somebody's pediatrician out there, and maybe he made a change and went into a different medical field. But I think about, if you're not, and what you said, if you're not passionate about what you do, you're not going to be your best at it, right?
No, you're not. And it's really funny waking up. Some people believe that your job is here in one compartment and just do whatever it is. And I would empty garbage cans and still whistle and sing while I did it. It's not about ego, right? It's really about, because I always believed I'd be the one at a client and walking down the hall, and if there's a piece of paper on the floor, I would pick up the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Or tell them to restock the ladies' room. Nothing is above or below. It's about being part of a family. So this is your work family that you spend a lot of time with. Not to get stuck in comparison-itis.
Yeah.
You can talk to these other people, ask them, what was fun about working with me? What did I bring to the table that was a standout? Because I'm trying to just do this 360 reassessment of, my gifts and how I help people as I just reevaluate. I like to reset every year. And maybe you can help me with that perspective. And it's amazing. Listen to what they say, and then say to them, would you mind taking a minute and a half and put that on a LinkedIn recommendation?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? It's easy to do that, right?
And then it's permanent part of your record, because it's sitting there on your profile attached to theirs with their picture. And
what I love about recommendations on LinkedIn too, there's validity, there's social proof that's kind of baked in, because a letter of recommendation, you could write it yourself and forge your signature. I don't think you're going to, but there's always a little bit of that. Did they really write it? Versus a LinkedIn recommendation, it's tied to somebody's profile, so you can't fake that. And if it's a legitimate profile, there's good stuff there. So Pat, what I want to do is I want to kind of bring us into some Q&A here. And I saw one question. Marjorie Lowry is saying, having a hard time networking, haven't had steady work in the past few years, and COVID hasn't helped. So what tips would you offer for Marjorie about networking?
That's a great, okay, so 2 tips. First one is, there are some re-entry opportunities for folks who've been out of work for 2 years or more. So you might want to look up work re-entry. Okay, so that is a whole category that people are starting to find some opportunities where they might have felt doors were closed if they've been out of work a while. So that's step 1. Number 2, think about the fact, New York Times says that we have all atrophied our relationship building muscles. It's not your imagination. Don't feel bad about it. We're all in the same boat. Don't worry about the fact, oh, they might not remember me. They might not have time. Guess what? If they're too busy and don't have time, that's on them, and it doesn't change who you are. But you will be blown away by the kindness of others and how excited people will be. So I use LinkedIn. I go on the messenger. Sometimes I do it with voicemail, sometimes with video, but I'll always just say, hey, I know it's been a long time. I saw Top Gun, and it reminded me of my boss from 2004. He was Tom Cruise. That was his job in the military. He was the fighter pilot. Super cool guy. I said, Tom Cruise has nothing on you. How are you? I'd love to introduce you to one of my friends who's in your backyard. I think you have a lot in common. And Friday afternoon, 9 o'clock Monday morning, we did a 3 virtual coffee. So how about if you introduce someone from your past to someone in your future, or ask one of your friends to introduce someone in their past to you? Because they can be the buffer. You get past the gatekeeper. They can introduce you and brag about you just a little and say nice things that you might not probably want to say about yourself. You'll feel better. It jumpstarts the conversation. And now you both have a new friend with new experiences, and both of you gain from each other's circle. Isn't that a fun way to network?
There you go. That's a great tip. And networking, and you're learning, and you're building relationships with others. I want to do one final question before I do that. We're going continuous all day, guys. I don't know if you know, this is like a LinkedIn Live-a-thon. Like, I remember like younger, we had like the bowl-a-thons, or in school, the walk. This is
I was thinking Jerry Lewis. Remember
right? So there's no downtime. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to bring in our next guest, who is Libby. And Libby, how you doing today?
Great. Thank you. So excited to be here.
Hi, Libby.
Hang tight for just a minute, and then I'll bring you back in and we'll get the conversation started. So Pat, I see that we had another question from someone, and it was just about the assessment. And I'm going to pull it back up on screen here again. And they were just asking, how do you access the assessment? So let me
if you go to Rock On Success, it's right under my name right here, rockonsuccess.com/soul, SOUL. It'll take you to that page. You'll see a picture of me, and it'll say something about ready for next step in your career. And hit that button, and it'll ask you for your email. There you go. Time to focus on what really matters and take charge of your career. And so hit that button, and we'll send you that document. You can download it. You can either fill it out electronically, make sure you save the document, or print it out, pen to paper, whatever feels good to you. Snuggle in front of your fireplace, put your puppy on your lap. It's just
I love it.
for journaling, girls and boys. It's fun.
Yeah. And I want to pull up your LinkedIn page up on screen for folks here, Pat. Are you open to accepting new connections, or are you followers only? Where are you at?
We've got 16,000 followers. There's my box of rocks.
Love it.
See
so
how
tell a story about it. That's such a cool story. I love that.
I'm consistent. So I have my media. I've been on Good Morning America, Inc., Oprah Magazine, New York Post, New York Times, blah, 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 blah. So always have your media. If you've got any of that street cred, you can put that right in there. Executive and leadership coach. So I work with individuals and teams. I try to articulate that clearly. The box of rocks is always attention getting, because people will just call me the rock lady. They'll know it's me. My father's name was Rocky. My father-in-law's Rocky. My son's middle name's Rocky. My favorite movie's Rocky. And I married a guy named Roque. My last name means rock. And then the box of rocks showed up. So
love it. And what was the thing on the box for those people that joined a little late? They may have missed the story. So when you turned 50, your friend gave you a box of rocks. And what did they say?
It says 50 rocks, and so do you. I had lost my last job. I got, just like a lot of people this year, right? I lost my job. The phone rang, and they were like, we love you. The company's folding. We lost our funding. It's over. Bye-bye. No vacation, no severance, just all vapor. And I had 2 kids in college. My daughter was about to go to medical school, and I was making buckets of money, and I went from hero to zero in a phone call. Doesn't that sound familiar to a lot of people right now?
That's very true. Yeah.
Right? So I didn't know what to do. I was never thinking of myself as a career coach, but when I did what I just recommended to your friend and I did the outreach, people said, you're a great speaker and trainer. We love having you come into our companies, but you're also the best career coach I ever met. And I'm like, what?
Oh, that's great.
I did it when nobody was looking. I wasn't labeled that. I wasn't paid for it. I just did it.
That's awesome. Well, Pat, I want to thank you so much. It was a delight. I mean, we had a quick conversation, I think, when I first booked you, and that was about it. I'm like, I love your energy. let's bring you on. And guys, if you're joining late, this is a LinkedIn Live-a-thon. We're going all day. I had a couple of AV sound issues earlier in the presentation. I'm going to watch the playback. If it's not succinct working perfectly, Pat, I may ask you to come back to next month. I'm going to repeat this LinkedIn Live-a-thon next month. I may have you come back and repeat the session because there was so many good nuggets of information in there. But I just want to thank you so much for joining Pat today. And I want to invite those of you watching, if you guys learned something from Pat, drop it in the comments below. I'm a big believer as adult learners. It helps to kind of remind ourselves, here is something I'm going to take away from Pat's talk. And she's going to go out into the live stream. So if we didn't get to your question, I'll ask Pat if she could kind of poke around in the live stream there and help you out. So thanks again, Pat. Anything else you want to send us off with before you leave the session?
The bottom line, you deserve to rock your career and your life without selling your soul or losing your mind. And hopefully, thanks to Brenda, you've got a step in the right direction. So God bless and good luck. Have fun with it.
Thank you so much, Pat. Have a great day.